Hey, welcome to the show. Secondhand blasters, let's go. Gonna break it down, piece by piece. Nerf's got a secret we'll release.
What is up, Nerf Nation? It's your boy Normatico, and we are back with another blaster review. Today, we're actually going to be reviewing a 3D printed blaster brought to you by the mastermind that brought you the Slab and the Alchemist. We are looking at the Cynthia by Silly himself. Yes, Sillybutts, or Silly the Gamer if you know him on Reddit. This is a bolt-action 3D printed blaster, styled much like the Indra by Captain Slug. In fact, it is inspired by the Indra, but does not contain any designs from the Indra, according to Silly himself. The blaster itself, it does have a plastic printed bolt action, and really cool thing I want to show you is how this works. The plunger tube right here, that actually slides back with the bolt action, and you push that forward, and then you fire like so. Now, it is a mag-fed blaster. Really quick the way this works, it does have a skinny ram, so you just need to push that up in there, and that is ready to go and prime and fire like so. And boom. Now, this blaster, the way it's configured, it is set up to go over 200 FPS. Of course, depending on what kind of spring you decide to put in this thing, it could lower it down to the 120, 150, 190 range. I went with some K26, and you can actually get the hardware kit from Out of Darts. That is where I got my hardware kit. When I first got it, I got the 8 kilogram spring, which should have put it right around the 170 to 190 range. I was averaging closer to like the 150 range, to be honest. And then I decided to say, hey, what if I was to cut up some of my own K26 and see how it works? And now it gets around anywhere between 200 and 220, which is a pretty decent primary blaster. Now, I will tell you that Silly, when he does the instructions for blaster designs, he does tell you how much infill to use and how many walls to use, which is fantastic. Of course, me, I don't follow directions very well. So, that said, this is a pretty heavy-duty blaster because I did 100% infill on every part. So it is a pretty hefty blaster, but it is well-balanced. The weight, even though there's a little bit more weight in the back, it doesn't feel too obnoxious. So it is there. Now, the cool part about this blaster, when you actually design it, you get to kind of customize it yourself. You can determine if you want to have the larger backstock, like buttstock like I have here, or you can go thinner. And basically you choose. You can choose to use the thumb stock. You can choose what kind of grip you want to have, if you want to have the boot or not. You can even choose the trigger design. Of course, if you order your kit from Out of Darts, they will provide you with a trigger that has a brass mounted in there, which is easy for treading the rod that holds the trigger. I was not a fan of having an orange trigger. I wanted to go with a certain color scheme, and that is what I did. So I printed out the trigger right there, and it looks pretty good with this blaster. Then, of course, you do have the option of having either rails on the side, or you can have the Cynthia logo on here. I went with the Cynthia logo on the back, and even this part right here, you can actually have ports on the side that have this revealed completely, but if you have a beard, which I have a little goatee, it might get caught when you're trying to prime it. So you have this here to protect your beard, which honestly, I think that looks pretty cool. Now, all of this was printed on my A1 Mini, with the exception of 2 pieces that I had to use because of the fact that the blaster itself is supposed to be printed with the files standing upright. Yeah, a couple of them are just a little bit too big for an A1 Mini, but if you have a standard size A1 or anything like that, you should be just fine. Now, I could have angled it to print in the A1 Mini, but I'll be honest with you, I didn't want to have to deal with supports or anything like that, so yeah, it is what it is. Now, of course, you do have the Silly scar here that you do whatever color scheme you want. Right now, this is black, only because that is for my display scar. When I actually take it on to battle, I will probably switch up to this blue scar that I have here, or an orange one, only because of the fact that it looks a lot less realistic. Because the profile of this blaster, even though it has bright colors, the purple and the blue and the steel gray up here, the profile itself looks a little too realistic for my own comfort. Now, of course, you do have the grip right here, which is optional. You can put whatever grip you want down here because this is Picatinny rail. And if you wanted the front plate here, you could actually have it with Picatinny on the top as I chose to, or without. And then, of course, you have the quick barrel swap cap here. So you do get a 14-inch barrel with the hardware kit. My plan eventually is to upgrade this to a saber barrel, which I believe those normally get a little bit better performance, or a Curie barrel, and we'll see how it does with 45 centimeters of a barrel. So yeah, that being said, the performance on this thing. The prime with the K26, it is pretty decent, as you can see, and that's it. Not too much pressure on my part to prime this thing. And that sounds like it hurts. Now, let's see how it performs in the chronograph test. Unfortunately, because of the fact that it's a little too dark right now, I cannot do a distance test, but we will do an accuracy test as well. So that's not to say that I'm not going to do a distance test. It's just going to take me a little longer, and you're going to see a wardrobe change. But next, the chronograph test.
Day by day, we'll find the ones that played away. Second-hand blasters, you know the name. In this game, we rise to fame. Feel that beat, it's coming in hot. Drums are pumping, hit the spot. Blasters fired, we won't stop. Hey, tune in now, we're on top. Hey. Hey, welcome to the show. Second-hand blasters, let's go, let's go. Gonna break it down. Piece. Nurse got a secret we'll release. Old or new, we'll check the scene. Work the bucks or just a dream. For kids, for teens, for the keen. We'll test the best you've ever seen. Blast away, day by day. We'll find the ones that played away. Second-hand blasters, you know the name. In this game, we rise to fame. Feel that beat, it's coming in hot. Drums are pumping, hit the spot. Blasters fired, we won't stop. Tune in now, we're on top, hey! Feel that beat, it's coming in hot. Drums are pumping, hit the spot. Blasters fire, we won't stop, hey! Tune in now, we're on top, hey! Drums are pumped and hit the spot. Blasters fired, we won't stop. Hey! Tune in now, we're on top. Hey! Feel that beat, it's coming in hot. Drums are pumping, hit the spot. Blasters fired, we won't stop.
And now it's time for the distance test using the Cynthia by Sillybutts. We're going to do 2 shots, one angled, one straight, and see just how far this blaster can fire. Let me do a quick dart recovery. I'll be back with those numbers. Okay, so the numbers that we got, a little bit off of the chronograph readings. Our angled shot only went about 180 feet, and our straight shot actually got 130 feet. That could be because of the darts. Of course, I was testing with the bamboo darts. Those tend to fly fast, but they tend to taper off when it comes to the distance. So, all in all, pretty solid performance for the Cynthia using the K26 spring. I am fond of this blaster. Up next, my final thoughts regarding the Cynthia by Sillybutts. Okay, I am back with my final thoughts regarding the Cynthia made by Sillybutts. So let me tell you, this blaster, I'm a big fan of it. If you've watched my channel, you know that I tend to enjoy a good bolt action blaster. And usually what we've seen from the retail stores is not quite a bolt action. I think the closest one to do it correctly was the Ultra Ferro, which was a good blaster, not gonna lie. It is one of my favorite of the Ultra series, other than the Scream Machine. But you know what? This one, it does what the Ultra Ferro should have done without modding. Of course, you have the benefit of it being a 3D printed blaster, so because of that, when you do 3D printed blasters, you can design them to your own taste. Even this one, the way that Silly actually created these files is that if you wanted to, you could set it up a whole bunch of different ways. You don't have to have the tactile core rail on the sides. It could be a solid infill with just a blank space there. Or it could be one with the actual Cynthia logo, kind of like what I did on the stock here as well. So because of that, you can customize this blaster however you want. And it's one of the joys that I like about 3D printed blasters. You're not stuck with one specific color theme. Now, you can technically paint a blaster that you purchased from a retail store if you wanted to, but that's an additional step that 3D printing, I'll be honest with you, if you have a good AMS system with your printer, you are all set. Now, this blaster itself, I will tell you that my A1 Mini was able to handle about 95% of the print job without assistance. There are two parts that you need a print bed that is larger than what you could find on an A1 Mini if you are to print it the way that Silly designed it. Because of the fact that all the parts are made to print upwards, this front piece right here and this back piece right here are just a little too large. You can angle them to fit on your print bed if you chose to and print them with supports, but at that point in time, you run the risk of when you print with supports, there's going to be a little bit of a rough edge, and it's not going to be as clean of a print as it would be if you were to print it standing up. So that being said, can you do it? Yes. Should you do it? Not really, unless you have no other choice. However, if you have a standard A1, which is I believe it's a 260 by 260 print bed, you are fine. Crealities, the Ender 3s should be, without a doubt, no problem. Of course, it's going to take a little bit longer than a bamboo printer. If you have a Prusa or a Cobra, you know what? Go for it. Have at it with your heart's content. I will tell you, this blaster, for anyone who's a fan of bolt action, I recommend it. Now, you can get the kits at Out of Darts. I believe that you can also get them from Silver Fox Industries as well, and Frontline Foam. So you just have to purchase it. Or if you go to the printables page where Silly actually has the files, you can get a hardware list and just try to source it yourself. I'll be honest with you, when it comes to sourcing the hardware, with the exception of the M3 screws, the O-ring, the push rod, and the spring and the tube, you know what? It's all for 3D printed plastic. So the springs that are inside of this blaster that you could use for the catch, for example, I was actually able to use a modified catch spring from a Retaliator, and you know what? There you go. Reason being is because the catch spring that came with the actual hardware kit got lost. It went wing somewhere in this big room, and I just couldn't find it. So I grabbed my box of springs and found a spare spring, and it works just fine. So there you have it. Regarding the actual spring itself, the part that I ordered from Out of Darts, it was the 8 kilogram spring, which put it right around the 150 to 170 range. I decided to say, hey, you know what? Let me see what happens when I put a K26 in here. I could probably get more performance out of this, but a harder prime if I was to add a longer K26 spring, because I could probably fit an additional 2 coils of K26 in here and have it be just fine. So you could do with that what you will. What I will say is that printing this blaster out, even though I did use 4 different colors, as you can see here, originally I was going to start with just the 3, you're probably only going to use maybe 1 full spool of filament. So the actual plastic itself, you're looking at about a $17 to $20 expense. Of course, if you do multiple colors, that's going to be multiplied. So there you go. Now, if you do not have access to a 3D printer, but you know somebody who does, this is going to take them about 3 to 4 days to print out. And that is if they do the parts one at a time, like I like to do, only because of the fact that if one part fails, okay, you just restart a part. If you have a print job that fails at like the 80th out of 100 layers, and it's 4 parts at one point in time, you're out of a lot more filament. So again, how you choose to print this is up to you. I will say, Silly himself, you know what? He makes some great instructions. I recommend actually subscribing to his channel. Just watching the actual build guide for this is entertaining on its own. I can definitely respect somebody who does a build or modification guide and can put a sense of humor about it and make fun of himself when he makes a mistake. So Silly, keep up the great work. That being said, this is just, it's a fun blaster. It's great. Is it for an 8-year-old? I'll tell you right now, the way that this blaster is set up with the K26, not so much. G-Rex is 11. He has a hard time priming it. He's actually also scared that he might break it because of the 3D printed plastic. But this right here, which is probably the place where it's going to have the most stress, 100% infill is what I did. And there is actually a metal rod that goes all the way to this tube right here, which is also 100% infill. And I want to say that I actually modified it so instead of 5 walls, it had 6 walls. So you're looking at a pretty well-built blaster. Now, personally, because of the way that I like to build things, I like to build things nice and strong. I would definitely put 100% infill on the plunger rod, on the actual plunger head itself, and on this piece. Those are the parts that take the most impact. The rest, you could probably get away with less than 100%. But again, me, I like to go for the gusto. I like to go for the weight. I like to go for a blaster that if I drop it from like 5 feet above the ground and it hits something hard, it's not going to just shatter into pieces. Unfortunately, I have seen that happen with some 3D printed blasters. I am not going to call them out directly, but there is a 3D printed blaster that I reviewed on my channel before that literally shattered from the impact because it was so hard. And the impact itself was not that it got dropped, it was just from natural wear and tear. That seller, I have since learned, does not make the best quality of 3D printed blasters. So again, I'm not going to call them out. If you've seen my channel, you probably already know who they are. The good thing is that since it was a 3D printed blaster and I now have a 3D printer, I am able to fix those things. Plus, my buddy at Conk, Ghost, who, again, you know, let me tell you, if you see his name on a Discord server, hit him up. He is a very talented nerfer. I definitely recommend his 3D print jobs. He was able to actually help me fix it the first time, so we'll see. But yeah, that is my thoughts on the Cynthia. The accuracy, it is there. I would definitely probably print out some iron sights on here. You know, the actual faux scope that I had on here, not so well. When I did the accuracy test, I was just trying to line up here and just, you know, eye it. I missed a couple of shots, but once I adjusted my aim, it was lasers with this thing. Back after back after back. So it's good. It is fantastic. The distance on this thing, straight shot, you're definitely going to get about 100 feet of distance on here before it starts to lose trajectory because it get hit around the 130 to 140 range. The angled shot, look, those are hit or miss even with the best blasters, but it did go straight mainly because of the bamboo darts. So have at it. Now, one thing I want to point to your attention is the actual silly scar right here. Again, this one is in black because it is for display purpose. When I actually take it out into competition, I'll probably print out an orange one or a blue one or a purple one, something that is not black, only because I don't want to run afoul of any of the rules or any of the, oh no, someone's with a gun, blaster. Anyways, you can actually fire Mega XL with this, and I was able to get around 60 to 70 feet of distance with Mega XL, and that is not bad. With an angled shot, you're looking at about 100 feet. So for a Mega XL dart to go 100 feet, that's fantastic. And even 60 feet with a shield for a shield breaker is awesome. So there you go. It does clock. I did clock a Mega XL dart at right around the 80 feet per second. So that's pretty decent for Mega XL, especially when the air is traveling from here all the way up here. So have at it. Do with that what you will. Now, if you decided to fire some other dart or some other type of dart, you could actually remove the scar barrel completely and go ahead and put on the actual aluminum tube. You can fit a Nerf rocket, and that'll get about 40 feet. Also, it is a shield breaker. So, other than that, let me tell you, fun blaster, do recommend it. The hardware kit itself was right around $45 at Out of Darts. So if you have $45 to spare in a 3D printer and you want a fun project, definitely, Cynthia is the way to go. Now, it is the end of October as I'm recording this, which means that right now it is time for me to reflect and look back on the year, and I'm going to start compiling my naughty and nice list, so to speak, not for my viewers, but for the blasters that we've seen come out this year. If you have any recommendations for blasters that you have not seen me review that have hit the shelves in 2024, go ahead and actually leave a comment, shoot me an email. I'm going to see if I can pick those up. If I can get them, I'm going to try to review them and include them in my Blaster of the Year or Worst Blaster of the Year list. I can tell you that right now, it's been a pretty light year for a lot of the companies, but it's been exciting. So we'll see who wins what prizes that I decide to distribute, which are just recommendations or bashings, I guess. Anyways, thank you for watching Secondhand Blasters. If you did like the content, hit that like and subscribe button. Until next time, keep on blasting.